I never believed in the supernatural or anything remotely paranormal, but when the first call came, my world was forever changed and my way of thinking was different. It had been 6 months since my husband, Mark, passed away in a tragic car accident. The pain of losing him was still fresh, a gaping wound that refused to heal. Yet, life went on, and I tried my best to pick up the pieces. One chilly evening, as I sat alone in our living room, my phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID, my heart skipping a beat. It was Mark's number. A chill ran down my spine as I answered, expecting nothing more than a cruel prank. "Hello," I said with my voice being shaky and worried. A familiar voice, the voice of my beloved Mark, replied, "Hey, sweetheart, it's me. I miss you so much." My heart raced, my hands trembling as I clutched the phone. "Mark, is that really you?" I whispered, tears welling in my eyes. The voice on the other end sounded exactly like him, with the same warmth and tenderness that had always comforted me. He talked about our shared memories, our dreams, and our future together. It was as if he had never left. I sobbed with a mix of joy and disbelief, convinced that it was a miracle. That night, we talked 4 hours, reminiscing about our life together. The pain of losing him seemed to ease, and for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of happiness. But as the days turned into weeks, the calls became stranger. Mark began to ask unusual questions, delving into details of our past that only he could have known. He claimed to see me, to watch over me, even when I was alone. It sent shivers down my spine. Doubt began to gnaw at me. The Mark I knew would never invade my privacy or speak in such an eerie, unsettling manner. My initial excitement morphed into fear and suspicion. Who was behind these calls? Was it some sick prankster who had learned everything about us? One night, unable to contain my growing unease, I confronted the caller. "Mark, this isn't you," I said, my voice quivering. "Who are you?" There was a pause, and then Mark's voice replied, cold and emotionless, "I'm always with you, my dear. You can't escape me." Terror gripped me as I realized that something was terribly wrong. I hung up, my hands trembling uncontrollably. In a panic, I called the phone company, demanding they trace the calls, but they could find no record of any incoming calls from Mark's number. That night, I locked every door and window, feeling a suffocating sense of dread. As I lay in bed, my phone began to ring again. I hesitated, my heart pounding. I finally answered, my voice quivering. "What do you want from me?" The voice on the other end whispered, "I want you to remember, my dear, I'll always be watching." I hung up, tears streaming down my face, and for the first time since Mark's death, I felt truly alone. Whoever or whatever was calling me was not my husband. It was something sinister, something beyond my understanding. The calls continued, a relentless torment, driving me to the brink of madness. I changed my number, moved to a new city, and tried to escape the relentless caller, but it was all in vain. No matter where I went, the voice followed me, a spectral presence that refused to let go.
Haunted and desperate, I began researching the circumstances of Mark's accident, convinced that it held some clue to the mystery. I uncovered unsettling details: a dark, winding road, no witnesses, and unanswered questions about the cause of the crash.
It was as if someone had deliberately tampered with his car. To this day, I still receive those eerie calls, and I can't help but wonder if the true nature of my husband's death holds the key to the relentless torment that haunts my life. The phantom caller, claiming to be Mark, is a constant reminder that sometimes the boundary between the living and the dead is not as clear-cut as we believe. And as I lie in my bed, dreading the next chilling call, I can't escape the haunting feeling that I am being watched by something that should never have crossed over to this side of reality. Help me, please. When I was little, maybe 8 or so, I loved to explore the woods out back my house. The woods stretched on 4 miles, and there was always something new and exciting to find. My mom would allow me to play in the woods, as long as I knew where I was and came back before sunset, though. I did sometimes stay out after dark, and she wasn't worried if I came after sunset due to that. This was before phones were addictive for every kid. One day I was skipping around and saw what little sky I could see through the thick tree, and it was getting dark. I realized I didn't know where I was. This is unusual because I don't get lost often, or really never. I wasn't worried yet. There was still maybe 30 minutes until sundown. I start tracing my steps, but this was difficult being the 8-year-old child I was. After around an hour of memory backtracking, it was basically pitch black. After a while of screaming out for help and panicking while walking in the vague direction of what I thought was behind me, the fireflies appeared. There's nothing unusual with fireflies. I even remember several times being late for dinner to look at them, so I ignored them, until the fireflies did something unusual. And this might sound crazy, but the fireflies started moving and lining up in a certain direction to my left. I didn't notice this, and it took me sitting down and crying on a stump to realize it. Once I realized them, I thought, why not follow them? It's not like my situation can get worse just by doing so. So I followed them. After a while, the woods parted to show a clearing. It wasn't very big, but to my child mind it was huge. After just walking around and trying to get back home, I felt like something was watching me. I look around and don't see anything. Then I look up and see, standing maybe a little high up in the trees, something. So from my memory, it was like a tree person, sort of. It was crouched down on a thick limb and was the vague shape of a human, except it had wood skin and looked like it was blending into the tree and the background. Also, it was super high up, so it could actually be much bigger. I do know that it had wings, or what looked like wings. They were furled shut and was loosely held in a relaxed position. The wings were absolutely huge, and this was them not spread out. At least more than 3 grown men length each. Absolutely hug height was looking straight at me. But weirdly, I didn't feel threatened, just terrified. Anyways, I ran. I bolted out of there as any normal person would. The fireflies led me back home. I don't know if I subconsciously followed them or something, because I was definitely not focused on that at the moment. I made it back home. My mother scolded me, and I never mentioned it until now.